sports fans. Well, we're on the road again. This is a short trip. We're going to cross the Gandy Bridge here, going into Tampa, and we're going to visit Ybor City. That is a historic district in Tampa, known as the cigar capital, and that would have been made up mostly of Cubans at the time. And I'll give you some history about that as we go, and a little bit about the city. The Tampa Bay Rays baseball team been looking to build a new stadium for a number of years now. Been going on a long time. They've threatened to move. They threatened a split season between here and I think Montreal or Toronto. I'm not sure which one. So one of the places picked to build a new stadium was Ybor City, which would have been really ideal with the roads going by it, close to it, the nightlife in that little community, and the restaurants and everything else there is there. Would have been ideal, but it didn't work out, and the Rays are still looking. The cities around here, Tampa and St. Pete, are still trying to figure out exactly where to build, and everybody's got to agree on it. That's something. So anyway, we're going there, Ybor City, and we're going to look around. So hang on, sports fans, here we go. Well, this is a map of downtown Ybor City, what's left of it. And this on the left is a Columbia restaurant. We're going to get to that a little bit later. Ybor City is a historic neighborhood just northeast of downtown Tampa, Florida. It was founded in the 1880s by Venancio Martinez Ybor and other cigarette manufacturers, and populated by thousands of immigrants, mainly from Cuba, Spain, and Italy. For the next 50 years, workers in Ybor City cigar factories rolled hundreds of millions of cigars annually. Ybor City was unique in the American South as a successful town almost entirely populated and owned by immigrants. The cigar industry employed thousands of well-paid workers, helping Tampa grow from an economically depressed village to a bustling city in about 20 years, and giving it the nickname Cigar City. Ybor grew and flourished from the 1890s until the Great Depression of the 1930s, when it dropped in demand for cigars, produced a number of cigar factories, and mechanization in the cigar industry, greatly reducing employment opportunities in the neighborhood. This process accelerated after World War II, and a steady exodus of residents and businesses continued until large areas of the formerly vibrant neighborhood were virtually abandoned by the late 1970s. Attempts at redevelopment failed until the 1980s, when an influx of artists began to slowly migrate to neighborhoods. In the 1990s and early 2000s, a portion of the original neighborhood around 7th Avenue developed into a nightclub and entertainment district, and many old buildings were renovated for new uses. Since then, the area is economic and diversified, with more offices and residents, and the population has shown notable growth for the first time in over half a century. Well, made it to Ybor City. Finally found a parking garage. Hard part about this is finding parking. There's parking all over, but how do you pay for it? The system is jacked up. It is automated system. Some of them want you to use an app on your phone. Don't want to do that. Some of them are pay by plate, but you can't figure that out either. People walking away, those lots are empty. So let's walk around here a little bit. I think we'll go out this way. Like I said, there's parking all over the place. The hard part is how the hell do you pay for it? So we'll see you down the street here. Well, there's the archway, entranceway. This is where it starts. Right here, Ybor City Historic District. A little bit about the history right there. Ybor City has been designated as a National Historic Landmark District, and several structures in the area are listed in the National Register of Historic Places. In 2008, 7th Avenue, Ybor City's main commercial thoroughfare, was recognized as one of the top great streets in America by the National American Planning Association. In 2010, the Columbia Restaurant, which is Florida's oldest restaurant, was named a top 50 All-American icon. In the early 1880s, Tampa was an isolated village with a population less than 1,000 and a struggling economy. However, its combination of a good port, Henry Plant's new railroad line, and a humid climate attracted the attention of Vicente Martinez Ybor, a prominent Spanish cigar manufacturer. Ybor had moved his cigarette-making operation from Cuba to Key West, Florida in 1869 due to a political turmoil in the then Spanish colony. But labor unrest and a lack of room for expansion, he looked elsewhere for a base of operations, preferably in his own company town. Ybor considered several communities in the southeastern United States and decided that an area of sandy scrubland just northeast of Tampa would be the best location. In 1885, the Tampa Board of Trade helped broker an initial purchase of 40 acres of land, and Ybor quickly bought more. However, Ybor City very nearly hadn't happened at all. Instead, Ybor initially failed to come to an agreement with the owner of the 40-acre parcel. The Tampa Board of Trade was horrified to find that the purchase had failed and hatched a plan to get the buyer and seller back together. Instead, Ybor was sitting in the train station on his way to Jacksonville to look at more property when the Board of Trade, the group of five, one of whom was Frederick Salmonson, future three-time mayor of Tampa, arrived and persuaded Ybor to reconsider, and the deal went forward. From there, and the birth of Ybor City. This is the kind of a city plaza here. It's kind of neat. You can see the people there that are lined up for their tours. And there were a couple tours going on in this area. Now this is about 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning by the time I got here. And there's still not a lot happening at this time of day. Here's one of those tours taking place. This is a late afternoon, evening. This is when this town really comes to life. Way out in the distance is the trolley. The trolley system runs through town, kind of around town, really. Ybor is not nearly as big as it used to be. A lot of the land was used for highway development, such as Highway 4. And so a lot of size of this community has shrunk quite a bit. And the tour is on its way. Ybor City was mainly made up of Cubans and Spaniards, but little known is that it was a large Italian neighborhood also. Least known were the Germans, the Romanian Jews and the Chinese, who also had communities here. This place reminds you a lot of New Orleans, gives you that feel. There are bars after bars, nightclubs after nightclubs, cigar bars, coffee bars that sell cigars and you can smoke and have a cup of coffee. A lot of restaurants. One of the few chains around is Buffalo Wild Wings. Coyote Ugly is also here. Hey, that was stolen. The city has a growing population. There are condominiums being built, rental apartments, and they're being built in the community, around the community. And so the population is growing. I think the last census was 2,100 souls that lived within the district. And if you're lucky enough, you got a place up there. And the Bad Monkey. Yeah, there's some talk about, I've heard some people say it's not safe in Ybor City. Well, I can dispel that rumor. It's very clean, and I see no homeless. You know, people we used to call bums. That's politically incorrect. We must call them homeless. Most cities, you find them on the streets. Some in you got California, you'll find them in front of the businesses and laying in the gutter and everywhere else. Here, none. I saw absolutely none. Now, I'm sure they're around, but I didn't see any. Safe? Yes, it's safe. It's very safe. And here's the other part of Ybor City. Chickens. And a lot of roosters. You don't see them quite on the main street, but if you get a half a block to just maybe 50 feet off of the main street, you'll see them. And there's the Irish pub. Now I'll have to go back and I've got to try that out. Now, as I mentioned, there's parking all around. Some of it's kind of difficult to get your ticket and decipher how to use it. I parked in a parking garage and there was plenty of room. Now, when you go at night, especially on the weekends, it's going to get pretty hectic finding parking. So I'm still late afternoon. It's got some time before it's lunchtime. So there's still not a lot of people around. That building has been gutted, and they're working on it as we speak. Music up on that balcony. As I mentioned, there were several ethnic groups in Ybor City. Cuban, Spanish, German, Italian, and each group had their own clubs. Very large buildings, the nicer buildings around, and that's where they would congregate. But they never had a problem between the ethnic groups. They all got along. That would be a good lesson for today, wouldn't it? Anyway, some of the bars are kind of interesting. To give you an idea of some of the entertainment coming to town. There's Benny's Wine Bar, Boneyard, Bradley's on 7th, Cigar, Cities, and Mead. Civil Axe Throwing. Well, that ought to be interesting. Club Pruna, Club Sky, Coppertail Brewing Company, Coyote Ugly Saloon, Crowbar. That's interesting too, the Crowbar. Demi's Market on 7th, Double Decker Bar, First Chance, Last Chance, Game Time, Happy Cafe and Hoka Bar. There's a lot more. The Reservoir Bar, Southern Nights, Tampa Bay Brewing, Tangra, The Attic on 7th, The Bad Monkey, we've seen that one, The Castle, The Dirty Shane, The James Joyce Irish Pub, the Tampa Improvement Comedy Theater and Restaurant, White Lie, Ybor City Tap Room, and more and more. History plaques like this are throughout the city. One of the things that amazed me was Scientology has bought up a lot of property in Ybor. Big buildings like this one. Jose Julian Martilla Perez. I'm sure I butchered that whole name. He was a Cuban nationalist, poet, philosopher, essayist, journalist, translator, professor, and publisher, who is considered Cuban national hero because of his role in the liberation of his country. This little tiny park is situated on the corner of East 8th Avenue and North 13th Street in historic Ybor. In a strange twist of history, the park actually belongs to Cuba. So in a sense, when you cross the pathway into the park, you are stepping onto Cuban soil. A small plot was donated to Cuba in 1956, 3 years before the Communist Revolution. Since then, the property has been maintained by local Cuban historical groups. And I suggest you read a little history on this. It's very interesting. Now we're looking at the Columbia restaurant. I told you we'd come back to it. This thing is 1 city block long and about 3/4 of a city block deep. It's huge. It has 3 parking lots, all paved, freshly paved, I might add. They're all free if you're stopping here at the Columbia. This is the oldest, if I mentioned this earlier, the oldest restaurant in the state of Florida. That would make it, I'm assuming, one of the oldest in the country. Now it's got a parking lot behind it, it's got a parking lot beside it, and it's got this humongous parking lot, 3/4 of a city block in front of it. That's my walk around. Well, I'm back at the parking garage. Nice and cool in here. It's only just a couple of minutes before noon. And I'll go find my car, truck, see a couple more spots here, and then we'll call it a day. Now, one might expect me to stop at that Irish pub. If it's open, just might do that. Wow. Found it. Now all I gotta do is get out of here. I hope paying for it's easier in a few of those other lots. We'll see. A little warm out there. Well, gonna ask me if it's worth it. Yeah, I think it's worth it. I think if you come down here, probably around 10:30, you can pick up a little breakfast somewhere. Then around noon, you can get yourself some lunch and maybe a beer or two. And if you're in the mood, you can have a cigar down here, freshly wrapped cigar. You can have cigars and coffee. You can have cigars and beer. There are cigar bars. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Come on down and see it.